You wake up and for a moment you feel okay. Then it hits, that weight on your chest, the whisper in your mind, I'm not good enough. It's subtle at first, just a flicker of hesitation. But day after day, that flicker grows into a fire that burns away your confidence, self-doubt. It's the quiet poison that's been drip-feeding into your soul for years, telling you to stay small, to hide, to not even try. And the truth is, it's slowly destroying you from the inside. This isn't just a bad mood or a passing thought. It's a silent killer of dreams. It's the voice that stops you from speaking up in the meeting, from applying for that job, from looking in the mirror and liking the person you see. It's taken enough from you. No more. Today, right here, we're going to confront that toxic inner voice together and start rebuilding what it broke. Your confidence, no platitudes. No gentle platonic music intro, just you and me in an honest conversation. Think of this as a late-night heart-to-heart with a friend who refuses to let you keep hurting yourself. Because that's what self-doubt is, self-harm by 1,000 cuts of negative thoughts. By the end of these 5 steps, we're going to take you from awareness of this inner saboteur to a place of transformation where you can finally breathe free of it. These steps are not abstract fluff. They're raw, real actions and mindset shifts that can change your life if you let them. We'll get a little philosophical at times, Carl Jung Stoic wisdom, not to lecture you, but to remind you that across time, others have fought these same demons and won. And you can too, so if you're here, I know you feel it. The urgency, that ache to break free. Stay with me. Step by step, we're going to pull you out of that quicksand of self-doubt. Let's begin. Step 1. Confront your inner critic. Give the demon a name. In the reflection, a young woman presses her hands to her face, anguish in her eyes. It's a familiar sight, isn't it? So many of us can't even meet our own gaze without that weight of self-doubt pressing down. This first step is about confronting that feeling head-on. There's a voice inside you, let's call it your inner critic. You know it well. It's the one that whispers, you're not good enough, you'll fail. Everyone will laugh. It's been with you for so long that you almost believe it's you. But it's not you. It's just a voice, a collection of old fears and doubts. Step 1 is to confront this voice directly, to drag it out of the shadows and into the light. As terrifying as it sounds, you need to face your inner critic. Look in that mirror, literal or metaphorical, and recognize that the negative voice in your head is a liar. Be warned, when you shine a light on this inner critic, it might snarl and fight. It thrives in darkness and denial. Confronting it will feel uncomfortable, even painful. You might feel a surge of anxiety or even sadness as you acknowledge how often this voice dominates you. That's normal. Push through it. You are doing something incredibly brave. You're facing the bully within. Many people live their whole lives enslaved by that inner bully and never even realize it. But not you. Not anymore now as you confront this critic. Start listening critically. Yes, we're going to critique the critic. What does it actually say? Jot down those common phrases. I can't do anything right. I'll just embarrass myself. I shouldn't even bother. Seeing the words written out can be shocking. It externalizes the thoughts, puts them on paper where you can stare back at them. You might even notice how harsh or absurd some of it sounds when written down. Would you ever say these things to a friend or even a stranger? Of course not. Yet this inner voice talks to you that way every day, with no consequences. It's time to hold it accountable for its lies, and remember, you are not alone in having this cruel voice in your head. We all have some version of it. In fact, even wildly successful people, CEOs, artists, athletes at the top of their game, have admitted they feel like frauds at times, battling that relentless self-doubt. The difference is they learn to separate that voice from reality. They confronted it. They realized, as you are now, that self-doubt is often a habit, not the truth. It's like a broken record of old fears playing in your mind, often recorded in childhood or stressful times, but it doesn't reflect your current reality. Neuroscience even shows our brains are wired to raise these doubts as a weird form of protection, to avoid risk and pain. Your inner critic thinks it's keeping you safe by yelling, "Don't try, you'll fail." But all it's really doing is keeping you stuck. As one writer put it, safety doesn't lead to growth. Staying in a safe little box of self-doubt might feel comforting to your brain, but it's suffocating your soul. So confront that voice. Call it out, give your demon a name, and stare it down. This is the first act of defiance, the first crack of light breaking through your mental prison cell. Tell that inner critic, "I hear you, but I'm not buying what you're selling." You might even say out loud, "I know who you are, and you don't control me anymore." It might feel odd, but trust me, it's empowering. This is the moment you stop blindly accepting everything your inner critic says and start viewing it as just one perspective, a biased, often cruel one that you can choose to ignore or overcome. Take a deep breath. Feel that courage building? This is you awakening. You're not fighting the doubt yet. You're just stepping back and recognizing it. The monster's in front of you now, not hiding under your bed. In the next steps, we'll learn how to tame it and eventually silence it. But for now, well done. You faced the inner critic and called it out as the fraud it is. Step 2. Unearth the roots of your self-doubt. Now that we've drawn the inner critic into the open, we need to understand why it's even there. Self-doubt doesn't come out of nowhere. It has roots. It planted itself in your mind at some point, maybe long ago, and it has been growing like a weed ever since. Step 2 is about digging into the soil of your past and your psyche to unearth those roots. This isn't about blame or self-pity. It's about understanding. Because when you understand the origins of your doubt, you strip it of some power. You see it for what it is, a learned behavior, a scar, not an unchangeable truth. Ask yourself, where did my self-doubt start? Perhaps you hear an echo of a parent or teacher's voice criticizing you when you were young. Maybe you were constantly compared to a sibling or made to feel like you had to be perfect to be loved. Most commonly, self-doubt begins in childhood. Were you a kid who got picked on at school? Or did you grow up with caretakers who, despite meaning well, instilled fear instead of confidence? Overprotective parents, for example, can inadvertently teach you to doubt your own decisions because they made every decision for you on the other hand. Harsh or critical guardians might have carved a deep groove of "I'm never good enough" into your mind. If you failed at something early on and were met with "What's wrong with you?" instead of support, that shame can linger for decades. Maybe there was trauma or a huge setback that left you afraid to trust yourself. All these are roots wrapping around your confidence, choking it. And it's not only childhood. Think about later experiences, a toxic relationship with a partner who constantly undermined you, telling you you're crazy or never appreciating you, or a job where no matter what you did, it wasn't acknowledged. Those things add up. Each one plants another seed of doubt. Before you know it, you've got a whole garden of self-doubt in your head, reinforcing itself at every turn. Recognizing these influences is not about making excuses. It's about shining light on why you think so little of yourself, so you can finally tell that part of you, I know where you come from and you don't get to define me anymore. Let's get scientific for a second. Our brains are wired for survival, not happiness. Survival. That means your brain's priority is to avoid pain and risk. This is an old evolutionary mechanism. Once upon a time, that meant a hyper-vigilant inner voice. Kept you from eating poisonous berries or wandering too close to a lion's den. Today, that same mechanism can misfire, seeing social risks or emotional risks as life and death threats when they're not. Ever wonder why you sometimes feel paralyzed by the mere thought of failing or being judged? It's literally your brain's ancient wiring exaggerating modern threats. Public speaking isn't going to kill you, but to your brain it might feel like it could. Your heart races, palms sweat, inner critic screams, "Run, you'll embarrass yourself." It's trying to keep you safe from perceived danger. This is what one psychologist calls the fear side of your brain. It's protective but irrational in modern life. Knowing this can help you respond, this is my brain trying to shield me. Thank you, brain, but this isn't a saber-toothed tiger I'm facing. I got this. Another root of self-doubt is our craving for external validation. Humans are social creatures. We care what others think. But for some of us, that need for approval becomes crippling. If you grew up needing to achieve to earn love, or walking on eggshells to avoid criticism, you probably developed a habit of constantly seeking others' reassurance before you trust yourself. Studies show that people who rely heavily on external feedback and validation tend to experience chronic self-doubt. Think about that. If your self-worth depends on every opinion and whim of those around you, your confidence will be on the shakiest ground imaginable. One disappointment, one lukewarm reaction, and you crumble. That's no way to live, and you don't have to live like that anymore. So, what do we do with this awareness of our self-doubt's roots? We acknowledge them, and we reframe them. Recognize that the fact you doubt yourself doesn't mean you are truly inadequate. It means you had experiences that taught you to expect failure or rejection. It's old programming, and any program can be updated. You might say to yourself, "Yeah, I never learned how to trust myself because I was always second-guessed as a kid. But I'm not that kid now. I'm an adult, and I can start learning a new way." Or my ex made me feel like I couldn't do anything right, but that was about their issues, not my actual ability. See, when you trace a negative belief to its origin, you often realize it was never a fair verdict on you. It was just someone else's projection or a misinformed way your young brain tried to protect you. Take a moment here. This step can stir up emotions. You might feel anger at those who planted these doubts, or sadness for your younger self who absorbed them. It's okay. Feel it. You're allowed to feel hurt that you weren't nurtured the way you deserved, or regretful that you've let these old ghosts run the show for so long. Let those feelings rise, and then let them go. You're digging out the rot so you can heal. One more important point: a little self-doubt in the right moments is actually normal, even beneficial. Psychologists talk about adaptive doubt, that tiny hesitation that makes you double-check your work or reflect before a major life choice. That's fine. We're not trying to become arrogant or infallible. We need balance, but you know the self-doubt we're talking about here is not the healthy kind. It's not a brief gut check. It's a paralyzing force. It's the difference between a quick look in your rearview mirror and slamming on the brakes on the highway. Too much doubt and you never move forward. So yes, acknowledge that a part of you is just trying to keep you safe, but also firmly tell that part, thank you for your concern, but I choose to risk growth over the illusion of safety. By unearthing the roots of your self-doubt, you've loosened their grip. You've seen that this relentless inner critic grew from experiences, but it is not your destiny. It's a story that began long ago, but you're holding the pen now, which brings us to the next step. Rewriting that story and challenging the lies your self-doubt has been telling you. Step 3. Challenge the lies and reframe your story. Now that you know your inner critic by name and understand where its venom comes from, it's time for the showdown. Step 3 is all about challenging the lies that self-doubt feeds you and reframing the narrative of who you are. This is where you actively talk back to that voice. It told you its story. Now you're going to tell yours and make it the truth you live by remember those phrases you wrote down or noticed earlier, the greatest hits of your inner critic's playlist. It's time to put each one on trial, one by one. Think of yourself as a lawyer cross-examining a suspect that you know is guilty of deception. For every negative claim, demand evidence. I always mess everything up, the voice says. Is that true? Always? Of course not. List 3 things you've done well in the past month, past year, whatever. They can be tiny. Maybe you made a friend smile when they were down, finished a book you set out to read, or delivered on a project at work. That's evidence that contradicts the absolute lie of always messing everything up. Maybe the critic hisses, no one likes you. Really? Think of people who do care about you. I promise there are some, likely many. Or perhaps it says, you're just not capable of success. All right, inner critic, show me the proof. Look at your life. I guarantee you'll find successes, even if they seem modest. You passed exams in school, you learned skills, you overcame hardships. You've survived 100% of your worst days up to now. That's not failure, that's resilience. Challenge these statements with facts. When you confront your inner critic with cold, hard reality, it starts to stutter, to shrink, to lose its conviction. A powerful way to do this is to keep a wins list. I love this idea, and it's exactly what it sounds like. A list of things, big and small, that you've accomplished or proud of. Every day or every week, write down a few wins. Cooked a decent meal? Win. Stood up for yourself in a meeting? Win. Got out of bed on a hard day? Win. These are all victories. Write them, see them. Over time, this list becomes a shield, The next time your brain sneers, you can't do anything right, you whip out that list. Actually, I've done dozens of things right. Let me remind you. Seeing your achievements laid out undermines the critic's narrative that you're some kind of total failure. It injects reality into the conversation. Now, let's talk about perspective. We often doubt ourselves because we misperceive reality, especially how others see us. We assume people are judging us far more harshly than they really are. Here's a bit of Stoic wisdom for you. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and philosopher, once marveled at how much we prioritize other people's opinions over our own. We all love ourselves more than other people, he said, but care more about their opinion than our own. Let that sink in. You live 24/7 in your own skin. You know your hopes and pain intimately, and yet you've been letting some random comment or imagined judgment from someone else override what you know about yourself. It's crazy, isn't it? So challenge that reflex. Why should the fear of what they might think hold more weight than what you believe? Start valuing your own opinion of yourself. Decide here and now that you are the ultimate authority on your worth, not the collective chorus of others' opinions, which, by the way, is usually not nearly as negative as you think. Most people are too busy worrying about themselves to constantly judge you. A practical way to reframe your story is to change the way you talk to yourself daily. We've all heard about positive affirmations, and maybe it sounds cheesy to stand in front of the mirror saying, "I am confident and successful." If that works for you, great. But if it feels fake, let's try a different angle. Rational. Affirmations. You don't have to lie to yourself or sugarcoat. Instead, affirm the truth in a balanced way. For example, when you catch a negative thought, like, "I'm completely useless," counter with, "I feel useless right now, but in reality, I have strengths and I've succeeded before." See, we're not swinging to blind optimism. We're injecting reason and compassion. Or if the thought is, "I'm going to fail, I've never done this before," you reframe it. Everyone fails sometimes, and every expert was once a beginner. If I fail, I can learn and try again. You're basically retraining your mind to think like a supportive coach rather than a fault-finding critic. Here's another powerful reframing tool. Consider what you'd say to a close friend if they came to you with the same self-doubts. Imagine your friend says, "I think I'm a lost cause. I'll never be confident." You wouldn't say, "Yep, you're hopeless." If you would, "You're a terrible friend, but I doubt that." More likely, you'd say, "No, of course. You can change. I've seen you do brave things. Remember when you did some good thing. You're underestimating yourself." You'd encourage them. Point out their positives, remind them everyone struggles. Now be your own friend. Literally take the kind, understanding words you'd offer someone you love and offer them to yourself. Maybe even write yourself a letter in that supportive voice. This isn't self-indulgent, it's rational. You deserve the same compassion. You freely give to others also. Realize that thoughts are not commands. They're more like suggestions your brain throws out. You get to decide which suggestions to take. Just because the thought, "I'm going to screw this up," pops up doesn't mean you have to accept it as prophecy. Acknowledge it. Maybe say, "Okay, noted, brain, you're anxious, but I'm going to do this anyway and see what happens." The psychologist Carl Jung said, He who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. And you've been looking inside and seeing a lot of scary stuff. But here's another Jung idea. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself. Completely. Terrifying, yes, but also liberating. You're challenging these lies precisely so you can start to accept yourself, not as a perfect being, but as a whole, flawed, yet capable person. As you challenge your negative thoughts, you'll notice something. The tone of that inner voice can change. At first, it might go from a roar to a grumble. Maybe it raises counter-arguments. Well, okay, you did that, but it was a fluke. Keep at it. Counter the counter-arguments. Over time, that voice will lose conviction. It might actually start sounding less like a drill sergeant and more like, I don't know, a worried ant just muttering "be careful" now and then. Fine, you can live with that. The goal isn't to become 100% doubt-free. Has anyone ever? It's to reduce it from a deafening shout to a manageable whisper. One more thing in this battle. Sometimes, instead of arguing with the critic, you can straight up ignore it. Treat it like background noise. Meditators often use the analogy of thoughts being like clouds passing by. You observe them and let them drift off. You don't have to attend every argument your mind invites you to. You can shrug and say, "Oh, there's that I'm not good enough tape again. I've heard this song before. I'm going to change the station now." And then deliberately focus on something constructive. You have the power to reframe your story. You were the victim in the first draft, the person to whom life and your own mind did cruel things. In the new draft, you're the hero. And what do heroes do? They face challenges and grow stronger. They slay the lies with the sword of truth. They replace the old script of "I can't" because with "I can." Even if, for example, I can try, even if I'm afraid. I can succeed, even if I failed before. This is your new story, not one without struggles, but one where struggles don't stop you anymore. You're doing it. With every lie you expose and rebut, you reclaim a piece of your confidence. Your mind is becoming your ally instead of your enemy. The next step is to take all this internal progress and channel it into action, because confidence isn't built in your head alone, it's forged through experience. Step 4. Step into the arena. Build confidence through action. Up to now, we've done a lot of internal work, wrestling with thoughts and memories. That's crucial. But there's an external component we can't ignore. Action. You can hype yourself up with all the positive thoughts in the world, but if you don't do something that scares you, you'll never prove your inner critic wrong. Confidence is like a muscle. You strengthen it by using it, by taking on small challenges and surviving them. This is step 4, stepping into the arena. Even if your legs shake, even if your voice cracks, every small action you take toward your fear chips away at the power of that self-doubt. Carl Jung once said, "Only the one who has risked to fight with the dragon and is not overcome by it wins the treasure." In this case, the dragon is fear. The treasure is your freedom, your self-belief. You don't need to slay the biggest dragon today. Just pick a small one. Speak up in that meeting. Make that call. Say "I like you" to your own reflection if that's hard for you. Each time you do something your inner critic told you not to, you get stronger. And here's a trick to make it easier. Give your inner critic a name. Seriously, something like Critical Carl or Doubting Debbie. A little silly? Yes, but powerful. Because once it has a name, it's no longer you. Now when you hear "you'll mess this up," you say, "Nice try, Carl. I'm doing it anyway." That small shift from identifying with the voice to recognizing it as noise gives you the power to act. Every small win is momentum. Confidence isn't built on perfection, it's built on proof. You prove you can try, survive, learn. That's real self-efficacy, the belief that you can handle life. Document your small wins. Journal what you feared, what happened, and what you learned. You'll see patterns. You'll build belief. Confidence doesn't mean you won't fall. It means when you do, you get back up. Step 5. Embrace self-compassion and strengthen your self-trust. You've done the brave work. Now it's time to make that growth last. Confidence becomes fragile without compassion. One failure, and it crumbles. But with compassion, confidence becomes resilient. This step is about being on your own side, not as a cheerleader, but as a best friend. When you mess up, you don't jump to, "I'm garbage." Instead, "This is hard. I'm still learning." This isn't fluff, it's fuel. Research shows self-compassion leads to more motivation, more resilience, and less fear of failure. And if that inner critic returns, you've already named it. You've already faced it. Now you meet it with calm. You don't try to destroy it, you outgrow it. Write letters to yourself. Keep promises to yourself. Talk to yourself like someone you love. If you stumble, forgive. If you win, celebrate. That's how self-trust is built, not overnight, but every day. Confidence doesn't mean you'll never doubt. It means when doubt comes, you won't believe it so quickly. Let's bring this full circle. You've spent 32 minutes with me. Not just watching a video, but investing in yourself. You've done something most people won't do. You faced your doubt, your shadow, and said, "No more." That alone? Powerful. And now, one last idea. If the inner critic still whispers, name it. Smile at it. Then move air, not that voice. You're the one challenging it. Now I want to hear from you. 1. What's one lie your inner critic always tells you? 2. What truth will you replace it with? 3. Which step hit you hardest? 4. Share a small win you've had recently and let others feel less alone. Drop a comment below. I'll read them all. Someone else in this space might need to hear your words. Just like you needed this today. You're not alone. And you're not broken. You're rebuilding. Keep going. I'm proud of you. Now go. Show the world what happens when someone stops doubting and starts rising. You've got this.